How you going, everybody? My name is Michael Hilkemeyer from ICT Solutions. I'm with Luke Henderson from Vex Robotics, and it's my pleasure to meet you. How are you today?
I'm pretty good, thanks. How are you?
Well, thanks. Um, you've done a lot of work in robotics over the past couple of years for Vex. I was wondering if you could just sort of begin by introducing, yourself, about what you do, and then we'll progress from there.
Yep. Well, actually, I've only been in Vex for 6 months. Going pretty quick, but rich history in STEM. So the past decade, I've been doing STEM education for various startups, my own startup as well, in various things such as 3D printing, electronics, microcontrollers, and robotics. And I spent quite a lot of time out in China, in Shenzhen, where there's a lot of ed tech companies, and sort of helping them with curriculum and going out teaching lessons, doing focus groups, all of that kind of thing. And then since I've come to Australia, I took a bit of a break out of STEM and was working a bit in industrial automation. But since then, I've come back into STEM, joined Vex, found my new home here, and it's been fantastic seeing this robotics program. Comparing it to all of my previous experiences, I feel like Vex has probably one of the most streamlined programs for STEM education out there. And I'm going to take you through that today.
Oh, awesome. I'm so excited about this. So, like, you said, that they are, that they are the most streamlined you've ever come across. Perhaps, you could sort of elaborate, why is that? Why do you see them as streamlined? What can they do?
So the thing is that you will find, and I hear this from teachers a lot, that you go to schools and they're using various different products for us teaching digital tech, coding, maths and science, the whole scope of STEM. But the problem is that often you'll be using this type of robots or that type of robots for certain years. And unfortunately, we know teachers have very little time. And to upskill in each of these platforms, it takes time, and time that teachers often don't have. And with Vex, we have something we call the Vex Continuum. So it's a kindergarten all the way through to university, seamless program teaching robotics, coding, engineering, math, science, the whole spectrum. And you're not learning a completely new platform each time you transition to a new product. So the Vex Continuum starts off with this little guy. This is what we call Vex 123. So it's a coding aid that is completely screen free. So you can start out without using tablet, computer, anything. You just get the wheels going to start it up.
Yep.
And we can start to program by pressing the buttons on the device. And it lives on this little thing here, which we call the field. And so this has been designed also so that you can go and say increments of 1 step, 2 step. And this is expandable. This is small for this demonstration. And so there, once you've done the programming, you just press the central button. And I haven't done the programming yet. Let's have a look. And then we press go. Oh, I think it's still paired up to my tablet. Give me a second. Because that will be the next step that I'll show you from then on.
Yeah.
So, get it started.
I think you mentioned that, like, before in the messages that like early childhood probably you would use that sort of robotics, VEX 123.
Definitely. So
So
you're implementing this sequence first.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
the first step.
Sequence is very important in early childhood. So like and it can be used, I think, in things such as numeracy, even in literacy. So from my point of view, I think like you could even put letters in those boxes there, and you can say, well, spell out something for me, or find the
Exactly.
missing. Oh, you write it on.
Exactly. It's designed to be drawn on with a whiteboard marker.
Yep.
So do some CVC words.
Yep.
And use it for literacy. You could use it for number lines.
Yep. Oh, wow.
So yeah, 1, 2, 3. So it's designed to be drawn on and wiped off. And there's a lot of resources on our website, what we call STEM labs.
Yep.
Which are designed for each of those different aspects, whether it be literacy, numeracy, or coding.
So this is like similar to BBots. How is Vex 123 like? What are the advantages of it compared to something like that?
So obviously you've got the sequencing that BBot does. BBot's quite chunky, rugged. This is sort of a little bit small. You've got a lot of systems.
Yep.
So once you get past the sequencing part, I think maybe it doesn't like it being on a bit of a slope here for me showing you. But once you've got past that sequencing part, you're going then onto the code reader. So the code reader then helps you to progress to learning the logic, conditions, and so on. So get out
Would that be like more for primary teaching, primary education?
still for the kindergarten early years, it all depends. There is a lot of scope with just the sequencing and doing activities, as I mentioned, with the STEM labs.
Yeah.
But once they've really got that down, there's no reason why they can't then transition onto the coding cards. So the coding device, little device here that comes with a whole set of these coding instructions. And they're just like little magnetic strips here. So all we do is just slide them in there. Oh, wrong side. So say drive, turn right, drive again. And then I'll pair this up. I think it might already be paired, and that wasn't why it was directing. There we go.
So could a teacher like challenge students by putting in a various code to in that, or like
It could, and one of the benefits of then having the teacher having this device and the students having them, and everything's magnetic, so you can hold it up and say, "Hey, teacher, is that correct?" Teacher can hold it out. Look, oh, maybe you missed a gap here. Just going to play this now so you can maybe demonstrate. There we go. Starting to move now. Don't
Oh,
know if you
yes.
noticed there,
Yep.
but the LED on the side there is
Yep.
going down next to each of the commands when each of them are executed. So this really helps to reinforce that sequence and to help the students to see, okay, what exactly, which part of the code is being executed at the moment.
Yep.
And you can take that beyond just simple directions. As I said, using the sensors, you've got cards here that are saying, like if red. So say the color sensor senses red, okay, let's turn right. If it crashes, let's turn around, that sort of thing. So you can introduce conditional statements. You can introduce loops with the go to start block. So you place that at the end and then it'll loop back to the start. So there's an awful lot of scope that you can do without even touching a screen.
Okay. Um, so this is still Vex 123.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there a model an upgrade to this for primary students as well to sort of go further?
Definitely. Yeah. And so Vex 123 is sort of grades kindergarten to grade 2.
Yep.
And from then on, we switch through to Vex Go. So at this part, you're starting to introduce the construction system. It's sort of maybe similar to a lot of people using Lego. It's got friction pins, sort of plastic beams, and you've got motors, you've got a battery, brain, and the sensors that come in the kit. Kit comes like this. So you've got one part of the kit that's got all of the gears, electronics, mechanical parts. And then you've got this part of the kit that comes with all the construction parts. And so this is, again, like I was saying, a natural progression.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can't share my screen at the moment, so I'm going to sort of use my laptop here. So for 1, 2, 3, you can actually start to code in this Scratch-like interface.
All right. Yep.
A lot of teachers who are familiar with Scratch will be able to pick this up easily. And those coding cards as well are intended to instill that color-coded system there. So once the students are familiar with the coding cards, you can then go and find
into coding
the relevant blocks that they need. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that.
Yeah. And so then once you've gone from 1, 2, 3, then we go to Go. And this is the interface. Very similar. It's just adding a little bit of extra complexity each product you go along in that continuum line. And so, like I said, the teacher's not learning something completely from scratch.
Yep.
And so I have my GoBot here. Just connect up via Bluetooth. There we go, it's connecting. Connected. And then I can start to drag in the blocks. Some of our later products in the Vex line come with a little controller, sort of like a joypad that you might play games with, where you can directly control the robot. On a tablet, you can also use this to control the robot. You might hear it moving.
Yeah.
So there's that option. You can either control it once you've built, because one of the major steps with when students build something, they want to try and test it straight away. But obviously, if they have to then code it, they can't. So all of the Vex products are inbuilt with a simple drive program, so that as soon as they've built it, they're able to test it. And then, once they've got used to that, then they can start various functionality in the robots.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the biggest benefits, as I was saying, was the STEM labs. So we just go to education.vex.com. And this is an area where Vex has significantly invested. We have a whole team in Pittsburgh developing education, STEM labs. So go through to Vex Go.
Yep.
There we go. So as we go down, you start to see intro to building.
Yeah.
This one's got a lab on physical science. So you build a very simple robot that can be controlled with a rubber band first before adding the complexity of the motors. So you're learning about simple machines, basic physics, and it really just builds on that mission to Mars there. We've got a lot of science subjects day and night, so it's covering things like planetary movements. You've got one of my favorite STEM labs in here is you build the life cycles of a frog. Somewhere in there. But as you can see, there's quite a lot of resources there.
Yeah, there is. And if there's one thing I know that teachers like is resources. So
definitely, yeah, we want to make their job easier.
Yeah.
And beyond just having those STEM labs, so if we go back up to the top, we have the teacher portal. So before we go into Teach Portal, you can see here we've got the cumulative pacing guide. So depending on how many lessons in a semester, you can tailor that. So down at the bottom, we've got the tabs that show, say you're going to do a 36-week program, 18-week program, the times of your lessons, and you can see which labs you need to use, which particular standards it's hitting.
Yeah.
And we've even got these mapped to Acara for most of our platforms.
Oh, okay, right. So there's links to the Australian curriculum.
It is, yes. Yeah, so it's to version 9 of the digital curriculum. It also features some of the links to literacy and the maths curriculums as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I really like that. I really like that. That's great.
And then in the teacher portal, you can go down through to the standards, and you can even have a letter home, build instructions, and a letter home that you can tailor for your parents to see what we've been learning in class this week. All of these documents are editable Google Docs as well, so if you want to make any changes, you can.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Just out of curiosity, Luke, is there like is there an upgraded version of that? Like, do you go into secondary education as well?
All the way, yeah.
So how is that different to that one there?
Yeah, I mostly just prepared early years.
Yeah, that's all right. You sort of, yeah.
But I've got one here that I made.
Here's what I made earlier.
Yeah, here's what I made earlier. So this is the simple IQ clawbot.
Yeah.
So we go Vex 1, 2, 3, Vex Go, Vex IQ. So IQ is where we start to introduce competition. A big part of Vex is the competitions, and that's how we got our start, actually. You may have heard of First Robotics. And the First Robotics competition used to have something called First Vex. And Vex kind of broke off that and then started their own competition. So we have 2 competitions, one around IQ, and the other one is around V5, the metal kits. And so this competitive element really kind of gets a lot of the students motivated. And they really have to get into that design thinking mindset, problem solving, because the games change each year. So say, for instance, last year, they had to collect discs and sort of shoot them under a net. This year, they're having to collect various colored blocks and tip them into little sort of silos. And so we don't leave them completely high and dry. They always have a base model to go off for the competition, but that's when they start to innovate to come up with new solutions and new mechanisms on the robot to take on this challenge.
Yeah.
And you'll notice it's kind of similar in a lot of ways. So the plastic construction set is kind of similar.
Yeah.
Again, like I was saying, we're just adding an extra layer of complexity. That's the word I was after.
Yeah.
So you've got stronger motors, you've got more sensors, you've got a screen on the device, and you're starting to deal with more complex concepts. And for a lot of those students that have really become familiar with block coding, maybe they're then starting to the block coding and saying, like, oh, this block coding is too limiting.
Yeah.
Well, that's where the VEX code again adds in an extra layer of complexity. Because then when we go to the IQ version of VEX code, we have a little tab on the side here where you can start to see the Python.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So whenever we drop a block on the side into here, we can see the equivalent in Python. So it really helps them then to transition from blocks through to typed code.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even we've just released something called Switch, where you can use a hybrid of typed code and blocks. So further helping that, building that scaffold, not just sort of throwing them in the deep end, letting them transition from what they know to being efficient.
Yeah. That's awesome. There's a lot of good advantages with that. Is this like, what would you like, teachers to know most about, like, VEX 123 and its, and the other robotics you have there? Like, what is one thing that you would like them to sort of understand?
Obviously, I work for the company. I'm going to say lots of good things about it, but don't just take my word for it. I'd say go check out research.vex.com. You can see on there studies that have been done with our kits in various schools, sort of low economic schools in the US that had a very low attendance. And after introducing the VEX program, grades have gone up, attendance has gone up, and research as well that's been done into the benefits of this block coding and how the engineering aspect of VEX really does encourage this problem solving, this critical thinking. So I would definitely say, don't just take my word for it. Do the research and see how it really has been proven that our products do help in that journey.
Yeah. And do you have a link that for Australian teachers, for example, to sort of maybe get in contact with you, or find out more about how they can use it in their curriculum?
Yeah, so you can go directly to vexrobotics.com. You can contact us from that website. If you wanted to go straight in and check the quality of our educational resources, you can go straight to education.vex.com. you're more than welcome to email me, Luke_Henderson at innovationfirst.com. Sorry.
So that's Luke
_Henderson at
innovationfirst.com.
innovationfirst.com.
Right. Gotcha. Well, thanks so much, Luke, for the time, this morning. I have found it, really fascinating, and, not to take anything away from BBOS, because they're quite useful, but I find that, especially VEX 1, 2, 3, I think really helps to aid that transition from sequencing, basic sequencing into coding, especially when you start to put in the codes in the tablet itself, and then from there you progress onwards, into Scratch, and as we know, that's a very common program used for coding today in schools. So, great, fantastic work there.
A big thing behind that is that we do often, when we go around to schools, we see stuff that ends up getting stuck in a cupboard, and often the case is that maybe the resources aren't enough in the educational side, but sometimes you feel limited. Okay, we've done moving around, whatever. Okay, we've done all there is to do with this product, but with 1, 2, 3 specifically, and in all the platforms, it's sort of that easy intro, but with high ceilings. You can go as far as you want with it. You can go beyond the STEM labs and start to design your own activities.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Luke, for your time. I'll pass this on to my subscribers and everybody, and I'm sure that get some contacts soon coming your way. Thanks much.
Thanks a lot, Michael.
And if you would like to know more about how you can successfully integrate technology in your early childhood learning environment, why not enroll in one of our online PD for early childhood teachers, or become a member of our ICT in Education Teacher Academy for just $5.99 per month. Cancel anytime.